Evil is not just a problem for us, the mortal inhabitants of this small rock we call Earth. It is also a problem for the omnipotent, omnipresent, infinitely good God that many of us worship. The ideas I will present here date back centuries. The war between philosophy and theism has had many battles, but the problem of evil is one hurdle theism has yet to surmount. First, we can all agree that evil exists. Though exactly what constitutes evil is open for debate, we should all be able to agree that a world which contains war, genocide, the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Holocaust, murder, terror, disease, pandemics, and suffering must contain evil. The problem is, why does evil exist? If God is all-powerful yet chooses not to eradicate evil, then God is malevolent. If God wants to eradicate evil but cannot, then God is impotent. And if God neither wants to eradicate evil nor is able to, why call God God? Essentially, it is logically impossible for an all-good, all-powerful God to exist. And while this doesn't disprove the existence of God, it does force us to rethink our definition of God. Either God must not be all good, or God must not be all powerful. Now, it doesn't matter if God created a perfect world or not. It doesn't matter if evil is the result of some chick eating an apple in a mystical garden 6,000 years ago. All that matters is that evil exists in the world here and now. So what are the theists' defense to such a problem? The first is that God could not have created a world without evil. Somehow good requires evil, and therefore without evil in the world, there would also be no good. This argument fails for a number of reasons. 1. Good and evil can be seen as distinct properties of objects and actions. Removing all the evil from the world would not also remove all the good. This is like saying if you made all the murderers not exist, you would also have to make all the Boy Scouts that help old ladies cross the street not exist. 2. Heaven is an example of a place with no evil. Therefore, it is possible for God to create worlds without evil. 3. One might argue that evil and good must be in balance in the universe. Hell would therefore balance heaven, and the evil in the world would balance out the good. This, however, doesn't explain why evil is unevenly distributed in the world, which is in itself another evil. The second argument theists make for why there may be evil in the world is that a world with evil is somehow better than a world without. The reasoning goes that without danger, there is no heroism. Without hardship, there is no charity. And without suffering, there is no salvation. Again, this argument fails for a number of reasons. 1. Claiming that a world with evil is better than a world without means that this world is better than heaven. If this is so, then isn't God punishing us by sending us to heaven rather than reincarnating us? 2. If God created us, then God created us with the need for suffering to achieve salvation. Either he was evil to do as much, or his powers do not extend to the natures of good and evil, meaning he is not omnipotent. 3. There are many evils in the world that are without effects whatsoever, and therefore serve no greater good. Such evils would not be explained by this reasoning. The third argument theists make for why there may be evil in the world is that evil is simply an absence of God, just as dark is an absence of light. However, if evil is an absence of God, then God cannot be omnipresent. Assuming God can be omnipotent, but not omnipresent, then evil can occur wherever God isn't around to stop it. The obvious question then is, why doesn't God go there? One can also assume that God is not omniscient, and therefore God doesn't know to go where the evil is occurring. But while God stays in one place, he is being evil to those around him who he chooses to let suffer. That being said, it seems ridiculous that one could be omnipotent and yet be unable to know everything or be everywhere. The fourth and final argument theists make for why there may be evil in the world is free will. If God created us with the ability to choose for ourselves, then any evil we cause is not of God's doing. God is off the hook. I'm sure you see this coming, but once again this argument fails miserably for many reasons. 1. If God is all-knowing, then God should have known what we would choose to do with our free will. Therefore, God must have known evil choices would be made. Therefore, God could be held in part responsible for the evil of the world. For example, if I create a robot with the potential to destroy my lab, when that robot does destroy the lab, do we blame only the robot, or do I share in the blame? 2. One may argue that free will is itself such a great good that it more than compensates for all the evil we choose to do with it. This is similar to the failed argument presented earlier that a world with evil is better than a world without. 3. There is no reason God could not have given us the ability to make choices, but always err on the side of good. Consider heaven, where everyone always does the good alternative. Either we lose our free will in heaven, or free will can be had without ever doing evil. If we lose our free will in heaven, then again, heaven must be a worse place than earth. 4. Free will is itself a cop-out. It postulates that our decisions are somehow detached from the causal chains of the universe, that somehow our decisions are of supernatural origin. However, modern cognitive neuroscience has shown that decisions are purely the result of neural activity coursing through the circuitry of our brains. Thus, if God created us and God designed our brains, then our choosing to do evil things is a result of God's design. 5. Even if you believe free will does let God off the hook for being responsible for the evil in the world, despite everything I've just said, it still doesn't explain why God doesn't intervene to prevent, or at least limit, the evil we choose to commit. So let's review. There is evil in the world. If God is all-powerful, then God could intervene and prevent it. If God is all good, then God would want to intervene and prevent it. The idea that God could not have created a world without evil fails. The idea that the world is better with evil fails. The idea that evil is a lack of God's presence fails. And the idea that free will lets God off the hook fails. So in the end, we are left with the logical fact that if an omnipotent God does exist, God must be responsible for the evil in the world. And therefore God is either not all good or not all powerful.